And in a month, I rebuilt a team of 20. That team with like almost no training and only a month of recruiting. We did nothing crazy. It was like 6.5, 7 million in about 2.5 months. The first 2.5 months of that brand new team being formed. And so like I had zero solar knowledge at this point. Didn't even know how to close a deal. And
Damn.
basically went from not knowing how to sell solar or recruit to solar to building a whole team and doing that in a matter of months.
Awesome. So, bro, I'm really excited, man, because look, we always talk about closing, we talk about objection handling, we talk about systems, setting appointments, but without having the right people inside the company, then, none of that stuff really matters. So I think what we're going to be talking about today is something crucial, especially for new sales orgs or installers that are starting to recruit and fully integrate and own the sales section as well. Recruitment's a big part, but yeah, man.
Yeah,
Where we
no,
got, my man? What have we got?
100%. Yeah, no, I've got I've got a few slides, and these are just like slides I use internally um, for my own team. But I I think one of the biggest things is like recruiting is great, and like what I'm going to go over here is all like really good. But the reality is, you don't have anything like behind the recruiting afterwards, like training wise, systems to actually take guys from like a new recruit to solar sales expert afterwards. You could do this all day long. You can sign 100 guys and no one's going to stick. So this is really like, I think of it like the top of the funnel, but there's definitely a lot that happens like after you recruit them before they sell their first deal. But I'll share my screen now.
Absolutely, man. And just what are your high level thoughts on recruitment as well? Like where did you learn to recruit? How did you become an expert? Because we actually had a comment, man. We had a comment on the post leading up to this live. We had someone say, how old is this guy and why is he an expert in recruiting?
Yeah. And dude, that's a fair question. I look like I'm 12. All right.
So do
So
I.
yeah. But no, yeah. So I started out selling pest control in Los Angeles, California. I sold pest control in Minneapolis, DC, Florida, and I'm from Arkansas, middle of the country. So I've recruited out all coast, north, south, east, west. Um, and I learned in the pest control industry, which was I did that for 3.5 years. It was a lot harder to recruit in than in solar. Solar is like literally the easiest recruiting you could imagine because people want to do it. Pest control is a lot more like no one wants to be the bug guy, and then they don't want to go knock for 12 hours a day for 100 days straight, and they don't want to do it for $200 a sale, And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
in
yeah. It's a
in
hard
solar we're
sell, man.
so, oh yeah, dude, it's night and day different, and in solar we're so spoiled, like we get paid out, and if it does take 3-4 months on a longer install, like we're like mad, and it's like that's the fastest you even see money in pest control. And in fact, you see it in
Really?
like literally every 2 weeks, all the way until April of next year, your money being spread out. So it's like it's a
Wow.
lot harder to recruit in. And so for me, I switched to solar from pest control in April. With I had a 30-man team. That team's still operating to this day at that same company. They're way bigger now of the team. But I started that team, and I just left everyone behind. Obviously, I couldn't switch industries, take my guys. I wasn't going to do that to the owners of the company. And in a month, I rebuilt a team of 20. That team with like almost no training and only a month of recruiting. We did nothing crazy. It was like 6.5, 7 million in about 2.5 months. The first 2.5 months of that brand new team being formed. And so like I had zero solar knowledge at this point. Didn't even know how to close a deal. And
Damn,
basically went
man.
from not knowing how to sell solar or recruit to solar to building a whole team and doing that in a matter of months. So that was years ago. But since then, I've recruited over 350 people. And so I haven't trained all of them personally. Some of them my managers have trained, of course, just as we've grown. But yeah.
Love that, man. Yeah, dude. Well, I'm excited to get into it. Excited to get into, some of these hacks, some of these strategies and tactics that you guys have used over the years to recruit that number of people. Especially at such a young age, man.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it, but I'll get into it because I think like there's obviously two parts. It's like you need to find where the recruits are, and then you actually need to know what to say to them. So, um, the first part I'm going to cover is just like getting started because I think that's where like a lot of people don't ever like, cross. If that makes sense. it's like the biggest thing is just like eliminating the excuses you have in your mind. And like, so like I kind of went down an order of all of these that I hear from my own reps internally, like why I can't get a recruit or why I can't do that. First and foremost, I hear like I don't know how to recruit, which it's like because it's new, right? Like it's very much like the first time out there on the doors or out there like making your first cold contact, like you feel uncomfortable. You literally it just is not normal at all. And so you have to be like you have to own the discomfort. Like you have to be very comfortable being uncomfortable. And when you fail, you need to fail forward, meaning you need to apply all the same things you applied learning how to sell solar to learning how to be a good recruiter. AKA, you need to record your calls. You need to be making notes on yourself, logging the questions the recruit asked that you didn't know how to respond to, and coming back and making like very basic adjustments. But that's like the bottom line. You just kind of have to get started. Like you cannot use the excuse of not knowing how to recruit to not recruit. Um, Second
And
thing I
do
see.
you recommend like having someone as like the head recruiter of your company? Like, do you have a head recruiter, or is this like a role that's split between all managers and like everyone? It's a culture.
Good, it's more of a culture, right? So like for us, that is. Now I know some companies operate differently. What we typically do is we have whichever guy is the partner in the we do a partnership model where like a guy who can create his own office not only gets in-house vertically integrated installing, but he gets like partnership revenue or partnership profit share as well as obviously overrides in his personal sales. And so typically we put the guy in charge of the market, like doing the final recruiting call, but we leave it up to managers if they feel comfortable using the script to use the script as well. It really just depends on I'd say it depends on the recruiter more than anything.
Yeah.
A lot of my time at this point on recruiting calls ends up being like the second step phone call, but obviously I started out not doing the second step, right? Just like everyone else. So, but yeah. So as far as like spending time, I think this is probably one of the biggest things. Like if you do not have a system in place to get recruits, you're not going to have a team. And so first and foremost, like if you don't have an office, I'd say like get an office or like if you can, obviously it's not always in your means to get an office or your company may not provide an office for you if you're selling remote, but you need to get somewhere where you can control the environment and you're not being distracted 80 different ways. You need to be organized. Like that is super important. So you need to literally need to schedule time on your calendar. Everyone, if you're a recruiter or leader, you should be operating your whole day off a calendar. You need to schedule the recruiting hours, training hours, office hours, just team building events, things like that. And then review your vision and your goals like literally daily. Like I would literally put down on a daily action list, I'm reaching out to 3 people, right? And so like it forces me to attack those certain things on a day over day basis. So I'm not just running into a scenario where I haven't done anything in a week. Oh, I need to go recruit guys. You'd be shocked if you just like literally sent 3 messages a day. 3 a day. It takes almost no time. Hey man, how's it going? I know we haven't talked in a while. I've got a quick business question and then let's catch up. Okay, great. Free lunch, right? And now you're in a lunch meeting and you give them a script when you're there. You send that 3 times a day for 100 days straight. You've hit 300 people up. You have the time to actually individually have relationships with them. And now all of a sudden you have a 20-man team prepping for summer, right? It's not rocket science. It's just the little things daily. So just like put yourself in the right environment. Spend the time doing it. One thing that guys always use this time of year, like when summer just ends and they're getting ready to build their team for next year, they always say it's too early. But that's like literally the best time to sign guys, right? Like if you sign a guy right now, let's say, and this is for like a summer sales scenario, but we're going into winter. It's like if you have a guy that wants to sell when it's not winter, which obviously some markets are year round. This is more for like geared towards the summer sales program here. The longer they're in training, the better they're going to be. Like,
Yeah.
that's just the truth. Like if you bring in a guy in, like for me, when I switched to solar, I rebuilt the team of 20 in April. Those guys were way less trained than the guys I brought out last year, where I got a full, 8 months, or the year before that, where I got a full 8 months of training.
Yeah.
It's night and day difference on the quality that you bring out, because what happens is you can run into a scenario where like you don't get the team you want, right? So like you've got 10 guys, now 5 of those guys you really don't like being around, they're culture killers, whatever you want to call it. Well, now you're kind of stuck with them because to hit your numbers, you need 10 guys versus if you get all 10 guys by December, well, now you can fire the 5 you don't like and then refill and make sure you have the team you actually want. And so that's what I do. And then another thing is you can recruit by multiplication when you sign early. And so it's like most guys have a friend that would do this or needs to do this or wants to do this to make money. And so you can create recruiting incentives like we do one. It's called a Hall of Fame rookie program, and it's like if guys bring guys out, they get a point for this. If they sell an early deal, they get a point for that. You get 5 points, you get a free iPad. Nothing crazy, but it's like an incentive internally to get the new guys recruiting too. Even though those new guys aren't going to be able to train or chase an override necessarily, they will at least be able and have an incentive to go get someone else. So like if you bring 5 guys, they'll bring 4 friends. You have, or I guess I've wrong math on there, but you have a 20-man team really fast, and so it's not rocket science to do that.
I like that because you're not just relying on the one guy within the company to do all the recruiting, but you're multiplying the recruitment across the entire team. So you've constantly got a revolving door, constantly got new blood coming through the doors as well. It's part of the culture.
Yeah, well, and dude, where this helps, like it's like I think sometimes you guys can get scared, but it's like, dude, I've used this on the installation side of the business. Like, for example, our first summer installing, we had this like massive influx of sales compared to installs. Like for us, we reached the 60-day install timeline, and we don't like that. Like we try to keep it 30 days, 45 days max. And so I just straight up told all the guys, I said, look, guys, we need new. This is when solar is like every installer in the nation, good or bad, was getting paid no matter if they PTO'd. So everyone was employed by a solar company. We couldn't find installers. And so I used this exact thing. I set up in front of me. I said, look, guys, we're reaching 60 days on installs. Who has friends that would want to hop on the roof? And what do you know? I had literally 4 crews the next day. And so it's like you can now, obviously all those 4 were not like worth putting on the roof, but we fixed our problem almost overnight because I stood in front of all the guys and said, look, I just need recruits. Or in that sense, wasn't selling recruits, it was installing recruits, right? But that idea, it works extremely well across the board, across industries. Let's see, motivation. I mean, like this is like,
straight up.
You can see my first line for how I feel about motivation. I mean, you probably should pick a different industry if you need motivation for this. It's pretty worthless to have motivation in this industry. Obviously, it's going to get you going a little extra, but like if you can't do it when you're not motivated, you're done. Like you have to like be able to perform even when you're not wanting to. Because like it's like, how could you create a great sales team when you're not disciplined enough to put aside like specific time for recruiting and training your new reps? It's literally impossible. If you have to get motivated to put that time aside, it's not going to work. Another thing I do, like I just leverage other recruiters to do recruiting activities with and to keep each other accountable. And so like what I mean by that is like if me and my buddy both have a goal, we want to make $250,000 next summer closing deals. Well, we're going to both define the team, and then I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to recruit this many, you're going to recruit this many. I make it a game. So I'm not like necessarily just doing it for myself. I'm competing for fun. And then we leverage each other because like I'll bring 2 recruits, he'll bring 2 recruits. Now we're both there too. Now we have a 6-man group because people don't like to be the first one to join a group. Yeah. They want the group to already be there and then they'll join. And so if you leverage other people's recruits, maybe within your own company, whatever the case may be, you bring them all to the same thing. Now it's like the party's already happening. You're just coming in late. You'd rather be fashionably late to the party than the first one there typically. And so like you can create that effect by utilizing other recruiters. But then like a big thing overall would just be like revisit your why. Like if your why is not strong, and like by strong, like that's a whole other conversation. I have a whole recruiting topic on how to create a like strong why because it matters. Like if you don't have a strong why, this is way too hard of an industry to push through and win at a substantial level if you're not like deeply driven, in my personal opinion. So
yeah, absolutely, man. What's up, guys? It's Carlos here, and hope you guys are enjoying this podcast. Really quickly wanted to jump in here and say that over the last year or so, I've helped hundreds of door-to-door guys, salespeople transition into remote solar sales. Now, the number one problem that I found is the amount of capital that is required for someone who is in door-to-door or a salesperson to need to invest to be able to move into the remote sales world. What are those capital intensive things? The first thing is you need a dialer. Second is you need a CRM. Third is you need the leads. The leads alone are going to cost you at best $1 each. Most expensive ones can be anywhere from $5 to $10. And if you're generating Facebook leads, these could be up to $40, $50, even $60 a pop. So it can get pretty expensive to set up your own operation. If you then want to build a team, you then need to hire people. You need to have build a culture, you need to start building a community. So everything stacks up in terms of time, in terms of money. So what we've done to solve that problem is we've created a team. This is an internal team called Remote Sales Pro. This is a team that you can apply to join. And what we do is we handle everything. So we give you the dialer, we give you the CRM, we give you a team of experts and managers that will help you close the deals as well. We even include up to 350,000 leads that we preload into the dialer. So all you need to do is apply. If you're chosen, you just go through a quick training course, and then from day 3, you're dialing and you're making sales. So if you're interested in learning more about the Remote Sales Pro team, all you need to do is go click on the link below. It's remotesalespro.org/apply. Fill in your details, register for the next webinar, which happens every single Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern. Attend the webinar. We'll tell you all about the opportunity. We'll tell you how you can apply, and we're really, really excited to see you there. So guys, continue watching the podcast. Super excited to continue creating content for you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Let's roll. Dude, I like the hack that you mentioned about leveraging, other smaller groups within the company. Because even like I've been in the position as well where I'm recruiting, and I'm recruiting the first people for the team, and in my mind I'm like, damn, this is awkward, because they're gonna come into like an empty room and they're not gonna see anyone else. So I like that. I think people can benefit from using that using that strategy.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so like what I do, I guess, since you highlighted, I'll peel it back a layer even more. What I do, like when summer ends, I do a leadership conference with my team, and I teach them basically just a bunch of recruiting basics. Some guys are just like freshening up because they've seen it all. But then we just start recruiting. And so we recruit from September all the way through like early November. And so like at the end of this blitz, what I'll start doing every single week is a weekly like Taco Tuesday or Wing Wednesday, where I just bring all the new setters into the room. And then we're doing some type of training to give them some type of help and start their training process for summer. So they're all meeting each other. It's creating this culture of fun. And now what we've done, though, we've recruited from September to November. So we've loaded the cannon. We literally recruited, I think it was only like 30 guys, like not really like many guys actually trying to recruit. But now we have 30 new guys, plus, like all the managers. We have 20 managers. And so what we're in a scenario now is, for that specific office in summer, that office will have, 100 man, but we've already got half of it full. And so by the time we start doing these regular meetings like Taco Tuesdays, Wing Wednesdays, well, we've already filled up 30 guys. You know what I mean? So like they're going to come into a room and it's already ready to go the time we do our first meeting. Now, obviously, that's not a reality for most people to fill up a full office before you even start recruiting season, basically. But so I guess to go back, I did the same exact thing when we launched Natural Energy. I remember like my first meeting was not at an office; it was at my apartment, and literally I recruited. I did not do my first group meeting until I had a 10-man team. And once I had a 10-man team, I did my first group meeting, and that was like December. And then we came out to summer with like a 40-man, which was nothing crazy, but it's like,
but for the first
I waited.
it's incredible.
I waited strategically though, right? Because I wanted them to already have a full room and see the people. So it's like they're joining a culture, not just joining this empty, hopeful, this recruiter creates this great thing, right? No one likes that. So, but yeah. So anyways, I can move on. See, lack of soft play. I think this is like probably, I don't know, I guess it's the biggest reason someone would recruit, but like if you're going to be like doing this at scale, you have to know closes for recruiting. It's like recruiting someone as a sale, just like selling solar would be a sale, or selling pest control or alarms. It's all selling. You're just selling a person this time on a job. And so you have to have closes ready to go. Like just simple as that. And the thing is, you don't have to close like, oh, come do this right away. You can put them into your pipeline. Any good recruiter should have a list of everyone they've contacted and like what their last contact was, where they're from, basic stuff about them, but like where their last contact was. And then you take them to events. Like they may have told you, I don't know if I want to do it for summer. That's fine. Let's just stay in touch. Hey, John, we're doing a Wing Wednesday. You should come through. It'll be free wings. Hey, John, we're going to Top Golf this week. You should come through. It'll be free golf, free food. Like, hey, John, like, one of the owners is going to be here if you want to come meet one of the owners. And so now you're doing this thing where you have like all these different things you're constantly inviting them to give them an opportunity to tap back into the culture. Because culture will keep them if you can get them there. And so, that's more of like a pipeline thing, but it's really important. I use closes too through like questions, like when I'm on a recruiting call, which I can give you you guys the exact script in a minute that I use. Like it's literally systematic, but soft closes are super important if you can keep them coming back. Like assuming you have a culture built or you're building one, that can be super super powerful because like there's a lot of cognitive dissonance with selling door to door. And so it's like even selling anything in general, like it's like, okay, how will this be? Will this be scary? Will I be sitting behind a phone all day just staring at a wall? Like, what is this
Yeah.
going to be like? And so if you can get them in and just give them immediate like adrenaline, like a dopamine hit of fun and like guys they can like see as like potential like brothers down the line or just friends down the line, then you create a scenario where they may wanting to take this job because of the fun, the brotherhood, not just the money and the opportunity that it can create.
Yeah,
So
yeah, dude, I completely agree with that, man, because the actual job can be, can be boring, repetitive. You're either you're on the doors or you're staring at a phone all day. But, aside from that, like what's actually keeping people there is, okay, I'm going through the mud with my buddy. I like celebrating, with the rest of the team. I like, learning all this new stuff that I didn't get to do at my other job, right? So, and that's a whole different topic, man. Like
yeah.
culture, that's we can go real deep and talk all night on culture.
Oh yeah. No, we could. I'm sure we could. If we had that much time, we would. Um, well, let's see here. So I'll keep this pushing so we don't. Okay, so like this is basically like if you don't have recruiting leads and or at least that's what you tell yourself, then you just like literally aren't trying is how I personally see this. It's like you can literally find leads almost anywhere. It just doesn't even have them all on there. Like a gym is a great place to find recruiting leads. One of our better setters, he literally we found him at a gym, right? And so like we just in a sauna. What's up, dude? What do you do? Right? We're just talking. Cool. I don't know if you get the job or not, but you want to grab lunch and talk about it, right? Lunch on me. It's not that hard. If you fraternities, this is like really fraternities are like my bread and butter. I like them for multiple reasons. Main reason is like once you get one guy, you typically can get a few because they all know each other. They're literally like they're brothers, but fraternity brothers, right? They're living in the same house. But
Yeah,
then B, it's like a fountain of youth, meaning every single year you get new like pledges, right? Like new guys. And
yeah,
so you're constantly having guys coming through there hearing about it because they're already in the fraternity organization and they're always going to be newer guys coming in that need a summer job. Um any campus you walk around though, like it doesn't have to have a fraternity or not. Like you can literally put like a Red Bull sign out and get a bunch of Red Bull and say, "Hey, Red Bull for a question. Do you have a summer job?" You hand them a Red Bull for free, right? Now you're starting the conversation.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hey, dude,
business,
these are incredible hacks, man. And just want to say, like, whoever's watching this right now, ask your questions. For example, you might say like campus, like, damn, like, well, what's a tactic to, recruit on campus or LinkedIn? Oh, how the hell do you recruit on LinkedIn for door to door? So guys, ask your question. That's what fires us up. Drop it in the comments. And then I'll check it out and I'll ask Parker. But yeah, sorry, man. Sorry to interrupt.
oh no, you're all good, dude. But yeah, like I mean, really, just like, and this stuff's kind of self-explanatory. At least I feel like it is. Maybe that's being naive here. I mean, LinkedIn, like you can literally search people that are like in college looking for jobs. You know what I mean? Um, Instagram, you can go to like, for example, like you go to like think of on Instagram like a group. So like I would tie this back to fraternities. Like this is something that we've used. You go find XYZ fraternity. Well, all their followers are going to be in that fraternity, right? Guys that are already there. So then you go down the fraternity list. Hey, what's up, dude? I saw you on whatever page. Just want to touch base, and so forth. Um, like you can use that very easily. Then career fairs are extremely good. They cost a little bit of money to get there, but like that's literally people are looking for a job there. Right? They're gonna be like, if you want people to come to you, set up a freaking career fair. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna be sitting there with a bunch of college kids, maybe not college kids, if somewhere else, whatever it is, and they're gonna be looking for a career to get into. So that is like, and there's more, right? Like you can use Indeed. Like one of my best guys from this last summer, I got off of Indeed, right? It's like that's a pay to play game, but
Yeah.
it's like you can find people anywhere. If you can't recruit, I truthfully feel like you're not trying, or maybe you aren't getting equipped with the right scripts. But it's not that hard to recruit for a job like solar. It's something people just want to do. Like my personal numbers when I was recruiting for pest control, like if I sat down in recruiting meetings with like 5 people, I'd get like one. In
Yeah, wow.
solar, it's like if I sit down with 10 people, I'll get like 7. And so it's like it's not rocket science, and it's something people just want to do. And so I think sometimes people like feel like, oh, it's door to door, they don't want to do it. But a lot of that's like a limiting belief you put on yourself to think people wouldn't want to do this job. That's my personal opinion. That's how I see it. I feel like I'm doing people a huge favor, and I'd be doing them a disservice if I didn't passionately believe in what this job is and what it can do for people. So
I love that, man. So just summarize that. So basically going with the mindset that you're doing them a favor, doing them a disservice if you don't actually close them on at least giving the opportunity a shot. And then just having the right honeypots on where to go to, such as all of these channels on where to recruit, and then knowing exactly what to say, having the soft closes, having the structure, and then most importantly, having the activity every single day to go out and, even if it's only 3 a day, which is over 300 for the year.
yeah, that makes people be surprised. It's so funny. First year recruiters are always the worst about this. They don't recruit for a whole time, and then February comes around, they're like, "Oh shit, I have got to build a team." And now they scramble, and what's crazy is a good recruiter will put it together. They'll put together a 10-man from February to April, and you're just like, "Dang, dude! Like if you did this back in November, you would have had your 10-man cut 5 already, and had another 10, and you would have had a solid 10 show up for summer. But now you recruited 10, 3 aren't going to show up." 2 didn't try to train at all, so you really only got a 5-man.
Yeah.
And you better hope you find some studs out of that, right? And so, yeah, I mean, it really plays a big factor. But we can keep running through this. All right, so like this is if you can set a meeting, but you just aren't signing them. Well, first thing, I don't know if I have this on here necessarily. If you have someone like Carlos is mentioning in here, like a main recruiter, I guess, or main guy hiring for the whole office, set a meeting up, get someone interested, just toss it to them and let them close the guy. Like that should not be like rocket science. Now, if you are the guy setting the meeting, you're closing the meeting too, then that's a different ball game. So like basic, and that's what this is for, right? It's like you need to have a roadmap. Just like we have a roadmap when we're selling solar, we need a roadmap when we're selling someone on selling solar, right? And so I think that's extremely important because like so many people, oh, I heard this statement. It was like from the gold rush when it was happening in California, and everyone went out there to go get gold, right? And some people made a lot of money going out there digging for gold. People who made a killing were the ones selling the shirts and the shovels to the guys going to dig for the gold. And so that's like if you are willing to learn a roadmap to learn how to dig for the gold, you should probably learn a roadmap on how to sell the shirts and the shovels for other people to dig for the gold too.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that's like the basics. And so I take the recruiting pitch like at this point, I probably take this pitch like more serious in some aspects than the solar close in general. And so obviously like I'm on the install side of the business, so like that, and then like recruiting is like my main thing. I expect the setting and closing function to happen without me at this point, because like this is like where it really is. Like without recruits, that's the lifeblood of the company, right?
Yeah.
And so like simple recruiting roadmap we do is first we're just building like basic questions like to build trust. We'll ask questions about the solar industry to understand like them, where they're at. Super important to listen here because if you ask the right questions, you'll find out kind of where to take the conversation. Like, what are they looking for? Are they looking for money? Are they looking for travel? Are they looking for brotherhood? What is it this person's looking for? Are they looking for experience? A resume builder. I'm going to pitch my story tailored towards those questions that I'm listening for their answers on. I'm going to give them after that data on like how the summer goes, my average guys, and I'm going to start taking down this closing cycle. And then after that, they either close or they don't. If they don't close and they're like, I feel like they're interested, they're on the edge, I'll take them down my pipeline and I'll invite them to events in the future and get them into the culture and then try to close them from there. If they close on spot, they close on spot. It's immediate training. Like I'm trying to get you on a training call by the very next week. No doubt about it. Anyway, so one of the things that people struggle with whenever they get people to meeting, like they get them to like, I guess, like understand that, hey, we should do this job, but like they don't get them to pull the trigger. And so you need something to like create urgency for them, right? And so here, what I do personally is I create urgency by leveraging my training, my gear, my incentives, and my social events. And so like one of the biggest things I do is like my exact state. When someone closes, like I ask them, I throw out a closing question, they close. I may throw out a few more closing questions just to heat them up. And then I'll pretty much go like, I'll go immediately, like, here's how you're going to onboard. You know, you're going to send over this form to my payroll lady. She'll send you over everything else, XYZ. I need you to fill it out as soon as possible so I can release the manual to you. Until you fill it out, I will not be able to release the manual and I will not be able to start training. When's as soon as you think we can start training? And then now I'm closing them not on signing paperwork. I'm closing them on training, but I've already let them know I'm not training until you sign paperwork.
Yeah.
And so it's forcing them to, if they want to train, they're actually taking it serious. And I actually close them in the whole recruiting roadmap. It's forcing them to sign papers now.
Yeah.
And so obviously, like, signing papers only as good as signing papers. It's not necessarily getting to summer, but like it's part of the funnel. It's like you have 100 guys sign paper, you're gonna have 70 show up summer, and then so forth, you know. And so that's like a really big thing I do at the end of every call. Like, new recruiters are like, I can't get this guy signed paperwork. I'm like, well, did you tell him he can't get X, Y, and Z until? They're like, no, I started training him already. And it's like, well, dude, you fucked up right there, you know.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so now they don't feel like they have to sign paperwork. They just feel like, oh, you're going to help them, give them your time, regardless of if it's a business thing or not. So I'm personally not worried at all. Like, I'll tell guys on recruiting calls, like, hey, I'm hiring you early to see if you're going to train or not. If you don't train, I'm firing you. I'm literally hiring this time of year to see who I need to let go before summer comes, because we don't allow like slackers in our culture. Like, that's literally what I tell them. And so it creates, like, how much more serious you think they take the training after I tell them that, after they sign, because they're being told that before they even sign the paperwork. And so they're signing paperwork knowing that in the back of their head.
So
and like,
setting
this is
the right
kind of like
expectations from the very beginning, setting the right precedent as well.
Yeah, because dude, I don't care if I have 100 guys, those 100 guys aren't trained. And so, like, when I got to Solar, the company I was at when I started had pretty poor training. I went in there and like they had like an 80-man office, and I was 20 of the 80. My guys were number 1, number 2, number 3 on the boards every single month, and we had, again, 0 training on Solar leading up to summer, 0. But when I got there, I did nothing but train. Like, you could ask anyone on my team. I was up till 2 a.m. every night. I'd be up earlier than anyone. And I was just constantly training. You could voicemail me, call me throughout the day, just constantly hit me with everything you've got so we can get you guys up to speed, because I knew I was behind schedule. And so, like, trained recruits are all that matter. Just getting a recruit isn't necessarily the goal here. But obviously, you have to start somewhere. And this one's kind of like broad, but it's like, just like, you know, you need to be saying the right things, not saying the wrong things. So, like, I think so many times people like get into the Solar recruiting, like, dude, you can make so much money. You're going to get rich. You know, we're going to make X, Y, and Z amount. Or, you know, tell them how, like, if it's a switch over, like telling them like their current company's bad because this and that. Like, you need to like not go over any of that. The best thing I've had is, like, I've helped new reps do to like get better at this, is just literally record a meeting and just listen. Like, just listen to yourself. Like, did you go through the roadmap like you were trained? Okay, you did go through the roadmap. Now ask yourself, would I sell with this guy? All right, if you wouldn't sell with yourself after hearing that, then fuck, you know, like, you probably need to make an adjustment. But you only know that through recording yourself and listening.
So it's literally like, treat this pretty much like the sales role if you're recruiting. You need to have the framework. You need to know, like, you know, the steps, and you need to literally treat it like a professional. Go back, listen, you know, and then optimize based on your performance.
I mean, if you want to be like a high level recruiter, if you want to be average, I mean, everyone's average, you know, you can always recruit a 5-man and, you know, make a little bit of money there. But I think there's really 3 main things that make you, like, you know, $1 million+ a year in an industry like this. And obviously selling is like an X factor. That's like a prerequisite. But then you've then got to be good at recruiting, and then you got to be good at training. If you're missing the training, then it doesn't matter how many recruits, you're not going to make money. If you recruit and you train, but you can't sell, all those recruits are leaving, right? And so it's like, and if you can train and you can sell, but you can't recruit, well, you got no one to train. And so it's like this, it's really like a triangle of skill sets that once you get, your income's pretty uncapped. But I think there's always a cap to your income if you're missing any of those 3.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah, if you're always just the one salesman and you don't know how to recruit, or even train, then you're capped at however many appointments that you can do per day.
110%. I guess, I mean, I could run over. I guess it's up to you, Carlos, if this is going too long or what.
No,
I have
sounds
another
perfect, man.
one.
We've got about 20 minutes left. So
Got you. Let me see here. I've got another slide I could definitely run through. So like this is gonna be like basically the exact script I'm using. So we can run through this. Like if anyone hears me on the recruiting call, and at this point in my company, like they're laughing because they know exactly what I'm gonna say. Like exactly. And
yeah,
so and it's very much meant to like almost like pull back, like make them actually be interested, and let them know like it's not me begging them at all. And so like this is the I equate in my mind like conference calls to doors knocked. Like the more conference calls I'm getting on, the more homeowners I'm knocking doors, or maybe the more people I'm calling, right? And so like this is the beginning of everything. And so just like you'd spend a ton of time mastering your intro on a sales call, you'd want to spend a ton of time mastering your conference call. You just need to. And so anyways, the funnel is basically like you start out with the call. From the call, you're gonna have people tell you, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll sign. There's
yeah.
gonna be a
And
fall off
with the
rate.
conference call, is that like when you say a conference call, is that like a Zoom call with all the
Good question.
potential recruits?
I call it a conference call because like at this point for me, it's more like I'll usually have one of my like guys like set up a phone call, a three-way call. But this could be just be like this is like whether you're sitting face to face with a person, like I could rechange this to recruiting pitches, right? Like I could. And so it's basically like a captive audience that is willing to listen to you about selling. If that makes sense. Is that
Yeah, yeah,
clear?
makes sense, man. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And so, you're gonna have a fall off rate between a verbal commit to a rep that's actually signed for summer, and then from there, you're gonna have another fall off rate between like a rep that signed for summer to actually ever even knocking a door,
Hmm.
and then you're gonna have another fall off rate from a rep that actually knocked a door preseason to started summer. You're gonna have a pretty drastic fall off rate of people that quit the first month. You typically lose 20 to 40% depending on like who you recruited, the quality recruit, the quality training, things like that. There are some things you can do to mitigate it, but you're always going to have a pretty substantial fall off rate month one, as it should be. And then
Yeah.
you'll have a smaller funnel that's finished summer. Now you have a new manager, and that new manager is recruiting with you. So now you've duplicated your recruiting efforts, taking them through this funnel. So this is something that grows year over year as it creates a bigger downline. So like for me at this point, I've used this system year over year over year. So I've got a bunch of people in this bottom category of new manager that are all recruiting with me, all recruiting to natural energy, right? And so that like supercharges your recruiting.
Wow, man.
Anyways, so I'll run.
This is incredible, man. Like seeing a framework like this in the form of a funnel. I know a lot of people haven't even thought about it this way. You know, I know like, because I've done door to door as well for a long time. And before I even started thinking in this specific manner, it was just like, okay, who am I going to talk to and who can I get into the interview room? But there was no funnel. So guys, whoever's watching this, take note, take a screenshot of this because this is going to make you a lot of money if you do it right.
If you do it right, right?
Yeah.
That's the key. All right, so this is the exact script I used. Now some of this will be like slightly different, but it's pretty much the exact script, but it's slightly different. I mean, like I may contextualize it slightly different to a different guy, or I may ask one question to a different guy, or leave one question out to a guy because I've listened to him and I realize I need to ask this or I don't need to ask this. So this is like I call it language patterns. It's a pattern you want to get into basically. So if you are in the industry long enough, like you're probably going to have a lot of calls put on you for recruiting, at least if you're like doing this professionally. So you need to get good at it. Treat it like a call or like a sale. I've already went over all of that stuff. There's about 12 steps to each call though. So first like part of it is you just get like the recruit on the line, you add the manager in. Ideally, the recruiter is going to give the manager like some type of brief intro to hype the manager up and to give them like this authority bias like on that recruiter's mind, like, oh shit, I'm talking to, like this guy and I need to give him a bunch of respect, get him excited, things like that. So it's like, hey John, I have Carlos on the line. He's the owner of Remote Solar Pros. Basically, he's living in Peru right now. Actually, last month, they did 10 million in sales. He's been doing this for 10 years now. He's great. So I'll give it over to him. And so now you've got like a cognitive bias on that recruiter's head of like, I should take this serious. So then you're asking right away, like, hey, what's going on, bro? I've heard a lot of good things about you. And just keep it casual, like actually have a normal conversation. Take your like, I'm about to recruit this guy off and just let the conversation flow for a short time. Like I try to keep it to like a minute or two because you're on a phone call. If I'm in person, I'll go longer. like if it's something I'm passionate about, I'll go longer than that, but I'm not trying to go past like 10 minutes max, because then it's like, it's just, I'm trying to keep it professional and I don't have a lot of time. I don't know if you're interested or not yet. And I'm trying to give them the persona, the idea that I am extremely busy.
Yeah.
Um, and so, anyways, you go on, you get asked like, "Hey, are you busy with work today, or what's up?" Well, they're immediately going to tell you like what type of person they are there. If they've done nothing, well, they probably aren't worth my time either. You know, like they've been staying at home all day. Like, dude, it's
Yeah.
so funny. Like, I'll get on the phone call with some guys like, "Oh yeah, I just got out of bed. It's been a tough day. You know, and laying around." Like,
Yeah,
you know,
they'll tell you a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then you'll be on the phone call with a guy like, "Oh man, I just squeezed this in between class. You know, I've got to do this presentation later. I've got to do this and that. So it's been crazy busy." Well, I can immediately tell in my head, my intuition's going off of, okay, I want to land this guy. This guy, if I get him, maybe I even want to reject him after I get him, type thing.
Yeah.
But it's gonna give you a good idea of like who they are and if you want to work with them. After that, I'm gonna ask them like, tell me a little bit about themselves, like where are they from, what do you do for work, do you play any sports, are you a fraternity, what are some of your hobbies? And this is just getting me to like get this person talking. And like the idea is like we want to build rapport with them, which like when you're building rapport, it's like one question you're polite, two questions, you know, you are interested, three questions you care. If you want someone to care about you, care about them. And
Yeah.
so I'm asking these questions, trying to trigger a passion or a similarity. And when I hear, oh, they have a passion for this, or oh, we're similar here, I'm going to start digging on that in this call. So now they like me, and I haven't even told them anything about the company. They don't even know anything about me, but they already
Yeah.
like me
But you're
because I
getting
built a
them to
passion.
talk, asking them a lot of questions, showing them that you care.
Yeah. And so like the idea of this is like, it's almost robotic, and because I need this to be a systematic thing. I don't like the idea of just guessing when I walk into any type of conversation that has dollars on the line.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I give him a little hype sometimes. If the guy's not good, I won't give him the hype. It sounds like he might be a good fit for the industry. With solar, what do you know about solar so far? And so like it gives you an idea. Like where I'm from, there's almost no knowledge of door to door, almost no knowledge of solar. And so it's like, but when I'm talking to people from other companies, you know, obviously they're going to know a lot about solar, this and that. And so that's going to tell me pretty quick, like what type of person I'm talking to.
Yeah.
And then like, I'm going to pay attention. Like a key thing here is I'm paying attention to them. I'm paying attention to their tone, their body language. If I'm in person, I'm trying to understand like where their knowledge level is. Like they may be like, oh, I've heard so much awesome stuff. Like if I get the opportunity, I'd be blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, this person already wants it. Like they're just hoping they, you know, can do it or this or that. They've seen us online or whatever. Then there's gonna be people you can tell are more like held off, like standoffish, and I'll be standoffish back to them too. Like I don't even know if I want you. But you want to use all this information you're gathering to this point to pitch them the story, right? And so like, for example, I'll give you like I'll get to the story in a second. I'll go over what I mean by that. But well, there I'm here. So basically, a story-based recruit based on either my backstory or someone in my company's backstory. So like for example, if I would recruit someone that like was coming from like a poor background, like they grew up, like didn't have much money, which obviously isn't their fault, but you know, they just grew up in not the best environment financially, then I would recruit off of, you know, one of my buddies' stories, like, oh, he was just like you, this and that. If I have someone who's like, oh, you know, my family has money, I'm a college frat kid, you know, I don't need to do something like knocking doors. Well, I'll recruit off my story. I was in a fraternity, my family had a decent amount growing up, grateful for it. XYZ, here's why it still benefited me. And so I'm going to tailor it towards him. If I'm talking to a guy who's only wanting internship credit, I'm going to story based talk to him about like a guy that I had come out here who, you know, got the internship credit and he made X amount and he's doing the X, Y, and Z today. Right. Yeah. And so like before this company, I was doing this, after this, basically the idea of the story based recruiting is this is the sale right here, by the way. And like, I don't even have a full slide on this. Like I have a whole different slide on story based recruiting, but like, this is when you recruit someone. And so like, I have an exact script through paraverbals. Like I could give it right here, literally. I don't necessarily want to, but I could. And it's like, it's exact. And like, this is when my recruiting happens, because what I'm doing here is I'm getting their emotional strings like going. Like they're obviously on the call because of some sort of logical thing they found in the job. It's either going to help them here or there or there, but they don't have the emotional appeal until I give them my story, because stories sell. You know what I mean? And so I'll tell them my story about how I started out in pest control in LA, how I did all this. I'll tell them how I switched to solar and I found the big problem that no one knew how to install. And so, you know, my family owned a commercial contractor in Arkansas. So I moved back home, I'll even go into like, have you heard of the book Self-Made Billionaire Effect? Like, okay, 80% of self-made billionaires start door to door. Give examples of people they know until I get them to be like, oh yeah, I know of them. Exactly, and so I'm building a tour down door to door. I'm building on the company. I'm building on the installs, bringing it in house.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this podcast. Now, do you want to own your first investment property in 90 days or less? I know you're thinking that this is too good to be true, but that's exactly how I started my real estate investment journey. Now, as I didn't have someone to show me what to do or how to do it, it basically came with its own levels of stress, anxiety, problems. Not to mention the delays either, because the best time to be buying real estate is yesterday. Now, all of those didn't hold me back either, because within the first 10 months, I had 18 investment properties under my belt. Thankfully, you don't need to go through the unknown to getting started. You can simply get yourself someone like myself who can help you get started in a much shorter period of time. You can get someone like yourself who's got the been there, done that experience to help you get it within a much shorter period of time with less problems. In fact, if you're looking to get started in real estate investing and want to generate passive income in as little as 30 days, I'm currently accepting 5 people into my flagship real estate investing program. Click the link below to apply and see if you'll be a good fit.
And so I'm putting them in this like trance. And I use story-based back to my like recruiting or my selling closing training. If you remember it, I don't know if you would or not, because it's been a few weeks, but at the very beginning, we're telling a story about ourselves, the company, and the industry. And so it's like, that's like, stories are how you get the emotional triggers for people, and then you just take care of the rest with logic and like systems is pretty much that. But that's like a whole deeper thing, the story side of it. Once your story's over, though, is when you kind of flip the script. So you're gonna say, well, that's pretty much like how I got into it, Carlos, but what questions do you have for me? And so immediately they're gonna tell you like the questions. Usually you're gonna get like one of 2 questions, but they're gonna give you a clear direction of like where to take it, right? It's like, the second line is more so for my my setters, so don't necessarily pay attention to that, but it's just going to give you their hot buttons. So they're going to ask you 1 or 2 things. They're going to ask you either about the money, or they're going to ask you about the business itself. Like, it's literally going to be one of those 2 things. So like they ask you about the money, I try to flip it back on them, because I don't want to necessarily get straight into money. Like, if you remember earlier, I don't want to tell everyone they're going to make $1 million. Like, I want to recruit off the idea that you're going to make 15 to 20 grand on the summer, and then when you make 5, 10, you're not going to be pissed at me. And when you go make 30, 40, you're going to be through the moon. And if you do make 60, 70 your first summer, you're going to be like, holy crap, this is the best thing since sliced bread. Because I give you the expectation of 15 grand, which like at Natural Energy, dude, you get one guy make 3 sales in a week. He's made 10K as a setter off 3 sales in a week. So it's like, it's a very realistic target to where you can like undersell and over deliver very realistically off that. And it's like, if you get asked about money, the reason I say so, I'm serious, for you to be excited to come sell with us, like, how much would you need to make in commissions for it to be worth it for you to give me your whole summer? Yeah. And in all these guys' minds, like in college, typically, they're typically thinking like, oh man, if I could just make 5K, if I could just make 10K, it's like, we get in this industry for a while, we forget like, how much we can actually make and are making for some of us, that we forget like 5 grand, 10 grand is a lot for a lot of people. And so it lets them anchor where their numbers are going to be. And you just come in a little bit higher than that. And it keeps the idea off of like, oh, you're going to get super rich. And then after that, I'll explain like, our worst reps make around 5 grand on the summer. Our best rep made over 50. Crazy thing is they work the same job. They put in the same amount of days and each started 0. You literally get in what you put out, or you get in what whatever. Now, if they ask, like, they may start asking buying questions, like what's the schedule like? What does it cost to homeowners? Where's the office? How does like the financials work on solar? And this is probably like, they're just wanting information. And so I'll treat it like a buying question. Yeah, I'll treat it like a buying question on the door. I'll address it, and then I'll start closing off it. I'll use a close at the very end, right? But after they ask questions about the schedule, a lot of times they end up asking questions about the money side of it too. So it'll usually go to both. Here, so this is sort of how I'd get into this. Isn't really a close. This is a question where really the idea here is where I'm trying to figure out if they're competitive or not. And I typically know that before I'm getting on the call, but I'll ask you as a leading question. Like, Carlos, are you pretty competitive? Okay, the reason I ask, we do a ton of competitions all summer long to make it more than just money. Because, the reality is, once you make 10K, a lot of guys make it a lot faster than they think they will, and they get pretty lazy. And so if we're not making it competitive after the first month, we made 10 grand, you're gonna quit trying. And so we do something every. And so now as I'm telling them this, I'm creating this idea and this appeal that like everyone's making money, right? Like it's pretty much guaranteed you're going to make money. And so, and it's like further putting into the idea that they're going to be able to make money from doing this. It's like pretty common X, Y, and Z, all the way to the point where so many people make money from it. We do competitions to keep you to keep making money after you make your money fast. So, I'll be like, we do a bunch of competitions. We do something called Third on Thursday where we call out someone in the office and losers just do anything they lose to. We've had a guy wax his entire chest. We've had a guy shave his head bald. We've had a guy, we actually, this last year we had a guy put NES, a tattoo on his ass. Like literally
Really?
he has the company logo on his ass. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I know. I was shocked he did it.
Was that you?
No, not me.
I was going to say, show us, man. Show us.
I think the guy's name was like Carlos or something, but I'm just kidding. But yeah, so, I'll go through that and I'll say, and at the end, one of the biggest competitions we do is actually called August Madness. It's basically the idea is like March Madness, but for solar. And so we rank setters based on how they performed all summer, put them in a bracket play. The winner gets an all-inclusive trip to the Caribbean. But to win, everyone has to be 100% competitive. Would you like say you're pretty competitive? And now they're going to start telling you why they're competitive, selling you on, I'm competitive because this and that and this and that. Because now they're thinking subconsciously about competing in these competitions here. Yeah. And so and a lot of times you can connect with guys that are like past athletes, being like, like that culture you had, like that brotherhood of being in the football locker room or the basketball locker room. I lost that when I left high school. Did you? Yes, exactly. This is the first time I've got it back. And now all of a sudden, now they want to be a part of that. Right. Yeah. And so that's obviously, you can only do this if your company is like creating this type of culture, right? Like, like that is like,
I'm going to walk into like a quiet office, like everyone's like behind their desks.
Yeah.
Like, hey, where's the competition?
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? Yeah, like we're legitimately doing stuff. Like we do call ups like every time we leave the office, like a football team would. We're doing stuff that's like fun. So a little different, but you have to be actually doing stuff or this doesn't work. So like this is one of the questions. This is my favorite question, honestly. And so, this is like, I made this PowerPoint like 3 years ago. So, okay, sweet. Well, one metric for these competitions is our per rep average. So we don't have room for guys that aren't hard worker. Last summer, we interviewed hundreds of guys and had over 60 selling with us in Tampa. Since Arkansas is a smaller market, we're only bringing out 35 guys this year. So what separates you from everyone else when it comes to selling? Why should we hire you? And so now all of a sudden they go from, you're the recruiter to now like they're trying to sell themselves to you, right? Like you've been trying to sell them the whole time. Well, now they have to sell you. And so like some guys, you look at like caught off guard, like, dude, like I've had guys like literally like swallow food they're eating when I ask them this question because they just like are so caught off guard that I just ask them to sell themselves to me. Yeah, but then some guys, it's just like, dude, and you just shut your mouth and you just let them talk, and they will like immediately start telling you why they're the best, what's the hardest thing they've ever done, why they're so awesome, and you just shut up and you go, gotcha, and ask questions off of it. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're in this, you can get into like literally a 15-minute conversation with them. If you're asking questions off a 10-minute conversation off why they should come out and sell because they're so awesome. It's like, are you sure you did that? And I pull back on them. You know what I mean? And then now all of a sudden they're begging you to sell and it flips the script entirely.
Yeah.
My favorite question recruiting. It's like the one where I know whether I have some or not. Just simply after I ask this question. Anyways. Let's see here. All right. Well, everything sounds good. It might be good for both of us. Let's do this. I'll put you in a 3-way chat. If you can send me your email, I'll send you some info to look through. Like we have a website, National Energy University, like sends guys links to like a bunch of stuff. Like they can see like testimonial videos for guys that have sold X, Y, and Z, so they can like see the installer and stuff like that. But then so I'll send you a text question you look through. Let's plan to talk into next week. I'll answer any more questions you have. That'll give John and I a chance to talk and see if this is a good fit. One thing that separates good from great is the ability to work hard through the heat and grind through the summer. We have a huge sales manual, some of the best door-to-door reps in Arkansas to train you. Pre-summer blitzes to help you get you ready. So if we do decide to do this, I don't want to waste your time or mine. Would you be able to commit yourself to at least 30 minutes of training per week leading up to summer? And so if they say yes right here, they just said, yeah, I'll sell solar with you. Yeah. Right? Like they literally just, that's my close. At least one of my first closes I'll use is this right here. And so like, if they're like, yes, definitely I could do that. And by the way, most people are going to tell you they can do it. And they're like, oh, dude, I can easily fit it in. And then when you actually start going and doing the trainings, you see who actually shows up and who doesn't. Which is why it's important to have a lot of guys at the top of the funnel. If you actually want like an 80-man to show up, a 50-man to show up, or whatever your goal, you may be shooting for 15 minutes or 10 minutes your first year recruiting, whatever it is, that's fine. But yeah, this is a good close I use like literally all the time. And then like I'm literally like telling them like that's going to be your learning curve a lot faster, so you can hit the ground running when summer starts and don't waste your full first month just trying to put 2 + 2 together. You know what I mean? And so like I'm trying to make that connect for them, and that's why I'm constantly talking about training, because if they're not training, they're not my recruit. That's how I see it. If they're not training or selling, they don't work for me. If they're training or they're selling, then they're a recruit that's working for me. Simple as that. All right, then this is pretty much like the way I typically try to end it is like, all right, I got another meeting to run to. I've got to go to this. Looking forward to touching base with you later this week. See ya. And like the idea that I try to instill in my recruiter's mind is like, you are the boss. Like if you're a recruiter, like you need to give them perception you're actually busy. Eventually you will be. Yeah, at first a lot of guys aren't, but it's like no one wants to go work for the guy that doesn't have anything going for him. At least most people don't. And so if you don't have it, it's like fake it till you make it almost. And it's like some people can argue that if you want, that's totally fine. And I don't think you should fake it forever, but it's like once you have a 5-10-man team, you're going to be pretty busy when guys are running out there. And so it's like, it doesn't take that long to do. So like literally tell them you're busy. You got to go do something else. So that way your interaction's more desirable. Like next time you're talking to them, so they're not thinking, oh, you're waiting all day long for, me to call you, this little recruit that doesn't even know how to knock doors or if I want to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I literally want them to feel like they are not that important to me. Like that's the idea. Eventually they really won't be because you're so busy with everything else.
Yeah.
But like,
if
dude, this is
the activity, they'll eventually get busy anyway.
Yeah. They'll eventually get extremely busy. And so like this is dude, like I just gave you guys exactly how I recruit. Like
guys, if you're not like replaying this, like if I was, I mean, you can do this recruitment method across pretty much any industry, whether it's doors or on the phones. What's important here is the framework, and what's important is that it's replicable as well. Anyone can literally follow it. So whoever's watching this, like, let us know your questions. If you have any questions on the process, this is going to stay up on the Sales Talk with Solo Pros page as well. So, you can always go back and replay it. I would recommend, like, if you're not, or like if your recruitment game isn't on point, if your recruitment isn't where it is, like where you want it to be, like Parker just went through the entire structure on how to blow up your recruitment department. That was nuts, man.
Yeah, I hope that helped. I don't know. I used exactly that, and I've used it for years now. Like that's not some like theory I just went over for the first time, So I hope that helps, guys. And if you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to like answer, share my experience with you guys, or whatever is I can help in any way, I guess. So
love it, my man. Well, we've hit 9 o'clock. What time is it for you? Is it Central Time as well?
Yeah, I'm in Central, so just in a different America. So
yeah.
In the northern one.
So you guys are in the middle of an off-season blitz.
Yeah.
And how many guys have you got on the blitz right now?
So our blitzes we do a little different because we only allow like experienced guys, and we do like a minimum quota. Just because we try to get like a pretty like balled out like Airbnb and like try to like make it really fun. So we don't allow first year guys to go out there really. But we have 23 on this blitz right here, and so
wow.
Not a ton, but for a blitz, I mean, it's solid. Like every single guy out there, I think we set like, you'll have like, I think 7 of those guys are closers, and so I think we set like 45 appointments today. So not a ton, but we try to keep our per rep average.
45 appointments.
Mm-hmm.
Damn,
so,
man. That's amazing.
We'll see. We just started the blitz really today, so we'll see how the numbers shake tomorrow. We should be getting 5 to 6 closes a day should be the number. So we'll see what's up.
Bro, dude, you fire me up, man. I love your energy. I love I love how you've like structured everything with your team. I love doing these deep dives into natural energy, dude. So really looking forward to the next one, guys. Once again, if you have any questions, drop them on the comments. This is going to be up forever. So if you guys have any questions, just tag me just so I can see, or tag Parker so we can see the questions. We'll respond. And yeah, man, looking forward to the next live, my brother.
Likewise, Carlos. You take care, brother.
You too, my man. Enjoy.
Peace.